Adventure Week is back here in Pokemon Go for 2019, and I wanted to talk about a question that I got, and I think this is a good one. This is not something you need to debate endlessly, but it is something I think that's worth thinking about. So let's see. The question was basically, do you think that it's better to walk Pokemon like this person used the suggestion Aron, that you can walk the candy for 1 kilometer versus walking a Pokemon that takes either 3 to 5 kilometers for a candy, and that would be to maximize that 4 times bonus. And so to answer this question, a lot of this is going to come up to personal preference, but I think that the most important thing to remember, and I'm going to have to reiterate this 2 or 3 times, but essentially focus on the need rather than the bonus. So this means that you really should just walk with whichever buddy Pokemon that you are needing to evolve, especially if it's a dire need. But if you do have to evolve an Aron, I cannot stop calling him Aron. But anyway, again, then you should feel free to walk whatever you need to evolve, or if you have a very specific need, it might be that actually you just need the candies to power it up to, I have a 98% Blissey that I'm walking right now, and to me that kind of a need would even overturn if I needed to, say, power up an Aron, an Aggron basically. And that actually reminds me, I should have told this person, but that reminds me that basically Aggron, Aron will be part of this event, so you may actually get a lot of candies that way, and it may not be one of the smarter choices. But let's use a different example, something like Magikarp, and this will actually kind of play into, well, let's backtrack. So let's say that hypothetically you've got everything that you want in the game, in the Pokédex basically. In that case, I think it might actually advantage you to walk a buddy who has a higher candy distance. So again, I'm walking a Chansey, which is normally 5 kilometers, and while I have been walking it since before the event, this event will specifically help me to get those candies a lot faster. And my friend actually brought up the point, he was saying that's true and that makes sense, but with it being more of a time-sensitive event, in this case, wouldn't it make more sense to walk those like Aron? He was saying that it is useful and you can get more candies that way and power up really fast. Then you subsidize the candy that you need for walking with rare candy, since that's a faster process. And again, we'll argue against Aron, we don't really need that one because of the event. But let's first reiterate, of course, that it should be based on the need first and the bonus second. So what I brought up earlier was, under a condition like mine, or maybe you guys out there too, if there's nothing that you need to evolve for a Pokédex entry, if you don't really need to evolve anything, then you could obviously make a case for either mindset, I suppose. But my personal opinion is that it is better to walk something that would have a higher candy distance, because walking a 5 kilometer buddy will take you a lot longer than walking a 1 kilometer by a long shot. We're talking outside of the event. But it would depend on who the buddy in question is, of course. If you already have an Aggron or whatever your 1km Pokemon is, if you already have that in the Pokédex, Aggron is not incredible compared to Blissey. So, Blissey I would put a much higher priority on, and that's why Chansey is a great example, I would say, of something being more worthwhile, because again, my 98 Blissey, I want to power up all the way. So I even have a 100% Aggron with 2 charge moves, but I would say still my 98% Blissey is a much bigger priority, as it should be. And if we want to tackle this from a psychology standpoint as well, sometimes just needing to walk a 5 kilometer buddy will deter people when there's not an event going on. So when there is an event that can cut the distance, it can actually make walking this Chansey or a 5km feel like it's a Magikarp, because 5km buddies become 1.25 kilometers, and we'll just say once again, it's about the need before the bonus. So an interesting caveat, I was getting into this point earlier and then tangented, and then now I guess we'll get back to it, is Magikarp. So Magikarp would actually be the interesting thing here, and you could put Wailmer in this category as well, but we're basically talking Swablu. We're basically talking about Pokemon that need 400 candies to evolve, and so again, if you don't have that yet in your Pokédex, this would be kind of a great opportunity for a 1 kilometer buddy that needs 400 candies. I would say that over something like Aron or another Pokemon that could, only have a 1 kilometer distance, but maybe only takes 50 candies to evolve or whatever. You could catch that on your own. Imagine how many, if you get 3 candies per catch and then you transfer for 1 candy, with it taking 400 candies to evolve, that in itself can feel like it takes forever. So that is another way to look at it, is what is going to take you forever? go ahead and walk that, because cutting 4 times the candy basically is a pretty substantial bonus. And so the time that it's going to take you to walk a full 1 kilometer with your AA run, or again, substitute any Pokemon that is 1 kilometer basically for buddy distance. That's just the one that's in my brain because this person used it as an example. But, outside of the event, look at how long it would take to walk a Chansey, so this is actually a great time, and Chansey doesn't appear in the wild all that often for the most part. And if you're not really catching a lot of Magikarps, so again, that goes back to the need, but this is sort of all angles that I wanted to approach this from. Now, one last question or point might be that somebody might want to walk a legendary or a mythical. So to use myself as an example, this is going to sound really braggish, but I have a 100% Mew, so it's 100% IVs, and I've got it fully powered up, so I don't need candies for that, but I wanted to teach it a second attack to make this thing even more beefy. And so I was thinking, all right, well, 100% Mew, it could actually possibly be worth that point. If it was like an 82% Mew or something like that, I might not care as much about it. But the fact that it's 100 and I could teach it another attack, I'm only like 8 or 9 candies away. I'm going to have to show this on screen after I finish recording this so I can get that straight. But, having that as my buddy, normally it would take a whole bunch of kilometers to walk that, but this would result in it being 5 kilometers for this Adventure Week event. That's still a decent distance, but if you plan on walking a lot or whatever, you could totally do it and get some Mew candies that, maybe you wouldn't ordinarily have the opportunity for. That's something that I would think, though, and this would be a general rule. This is kind of how I would answer if somebody was to ask about any legendary or mythical Pokemon, is it might be a little bit better to use your rare candies on that because, again, walking outside of the event is almost out of the question unless you really just have nothing else that you want to walk as your buddy. Again, this is up to people's personal preference too, and how much they walk, of course. If you're not really that much of a walker or biker or whatever, then, some of this stuff will play out differently for you. But even within this event, you could take advantage more so of something. I think the sweet spot will be around that 5 kilometers, and this is, again, specifically my preference, but I do think that it would be smart for you guys as well. So, maybe find that Chansey that you want to evolve into a Blissey, or if you already have a Blissey like I do that you want to power up with some really good IVs to stand out from the rest of your Blissies, something like that, that's what I would do. So I hope that these are good points for you guys. I hope that it makes sense for all of you. I sometimes go on tangents. I'm definitely aware of that. And if it ever looked like I was reading, I am. I do have some notes and stuff that I put on a spreadsheet just down below the webcam. So certainly I like to reveal that so it doesn't, I'm not trying to fake that or anything like that. So let me know if you guys have any other questions. I want to thank my friend who asked that over there on Twitter. I don't know if he wants me to reveal his name or not, so I'm just not going to. But let me know what kind of stuff that you guys get for Adventure Week. I will catch you on the next vid, and thanks for viewing.